Hi, good day. This is the 1st of July in the year 2013, and I'd like to give you a little brief synopsis, if it's possible, about the concept of Mercury retrograde, and then an extended explanation for those of you who have a little more time, or if you want to catch it a little later, alligator. This is Bonnie Landago, and I think the time has come where I clue you in as to some of the happenings around the planet of communication moving backward. First of all planets move forward and backward at their own whim, whenever they want, obviously. Mercury decides to move backward about 3 or 4 times a year every year. When it does, we sure notice. And if we are a little intelligently ahead of the game, makes things all that much easier. Initially, I want to suggest the idea that it is the illusion of Mercury traveling backwards. The illusion. Play with that as you wish. Mercury is the planet of communication in the form of talking on the phone, sending texts or emails, talking in person, writing letters of correspondence, if we still write letters of correspondence these days, using a computer, a handheld device, a telephone, a fax machine. So, when the planet is moving backward, things are a little muffled or a lot muffled, so it's best to be aware. One of the most common ideas that I like to keep on the top of my mind is that I check and double check and sometimes triple check appointment dates, times, and locales. And even though it may seem like you're silly to even quadruple check, because it'll save you a great headache. That same idea, you may find that faxes disappear, that emails disappear into cyberspace, that phone messages do not register on answering machines. You also may find that your computer server may not be serving you, your internet server may not be serving you as well, or for that matter, your wireless connector to any handheld device. This is the opportune time when we back up our computers. Technically, we should be doing it before Mercury goes retrograde, but who listens anyways? How long is this going on for? Mercury does move into forward motion the 20th of July, but there is what is known as a shadow period or an after period, which lasts until the 9th of August. So yes, I would keep that in mind and in place. The other idea, other than the actual act of communicating, is the devices that we use to communicate with. Yes, the phone line is going to go dead more often than not. Yes, the internet server or wireless server may not be working as you wish it to. Perhaps the computer or any handheld device, even if you just bought it, may not be working. This is why we say it's not an ideal time to buy anything that is plugged in or runs on a battery other than just a piece of communication equipment, because if you do, it probably will need to be repaired. We use the keywords of repair and redo and revisit around Mercury retrograde. So if any serious communication is going on, we probably are going to need to relook at it and redo it once Mercury goes direct. Trust me, that's the way it works. And if we have a piece of equipment that goes on the blitz and you really are dependent on that piece of equipment, it's not a bad idea to have another one handy. Because even if you do get that BlackBerry or let's say it's a handheld mixer that you use to make whipping cream because you have a restaurant, have another one on the side for the sake of $15, because even if you try to repair something during this period, that repair probably is not going to take. So for that reason, we don't buy a TV, we try not to buy an automobile, try not to buy anything, again, that is plugged in or runs on a battery if we can help it. Wait until after Mercury retrograde. The other idea with Mercury retrograde is travel. Take time with your schedule, not to cram everything in because there will be delays. The other idea is contracts. We usually say this is not a good idea to sign a contract during Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde, the pre-period started a few weeks ago, so this has been going on for a while. A little bit of the extended message here. If you wish to stop now, by all means stop. Other than that, I'm just going to speak a little bit more to the idea of contracts and travel. The idea of using your own vehicle or being in another medium or mode of travel needs attention. It's a time when we want to be sure that batteries are checked, water and all other fluid levels are checked, there's air in the tires. Those are the very little things, but very common things that can go astray during Mercury retrograde. And even if you just had the battery changed or you just had an oil change, maybe the service person forgot to add the brake fluid in or something of that nature, because it is short distance travel that is generally affected during Mercury retrograde. So just for the sake of argument, walk around and take a look at your vehicle, because you may be relying on it just to go to work, but you may rely on it to take a short trip 2 hours away. That doesn't mean that long distance travel is not affected. It is. So plane schedules, if you're changing planes or taking 2 or 3 flights at a time, or more than one flight, one in the morning and one at night to return home, be careful not to squeeze things in, because there probably are going to be delays. Same with trains, obviously, same with buses, same with boats. Something like using the ferries in one of the maritime provinces here in Canada or in the US or abroad. And yes, Mercury retrograde affects everywhere on Earth. The other aspect that we want to touch on is neighbors and siblings. You may have increased communication, or exactly the opposite, decreased communication with neighbors or siblings. Neighbors can very well be those who live in your immediate environment, or those who you pass by and converse with throughout your day. The young lady at the coffee shop who steams your milk for your cappuccino, or the person that you pay for gas at the 7-Eleven, or the grocery store clerk. Any of these people, even someone that lives down the street that you just happen to pass by every day for 5 years, maybe you're going to have an increased communication with them now all of a sudden. And yes, you will learn something from them. The idea of contracts is we try not to sign a contract during this time. Yes, that is listing a house, that is buying a house, selling a house, an employment contract, anything that you can think of, because the chances are it's going to need to be revisited and revamped after Mercury retrograde is over. If you signed into a contract prior to Mercury retrograde, so let's say if you signed into something about 3 weeks ago, you should be fairly good. Should be no problem. But if you're going to take some actions, which we need to, because of course we can't stop living life just because Mercury is retrograde, use your gut, use your intuition, get a second opinion if you absolutely need to act on a contract. And this is a very long period of Mercury retrograde, so it's going to be highly unlikely that we can put this sort of idea aside, especially in today's fast-moving world. A handshake will not do in these times. You must be very clear, because you're going to go back and you're going to kick yourself a little bit because you missed something. The other very nice bonus of Mercury retrograde is that people from your past tend to revisit you. This isn't everybody, and this isn't every Mercury retrograde period, but someone from your past may discover you on Facebook, or someone from your past might happen to walk into your path, for good or for bad. Not saying it's for bad, but if it's someone you got along with, you didn't get along with, you didn't really care about either way, they might be sending you a signal. For example, if it's someone that you used to work with, might be signaling that a new job or a new contract is coming your way. If it's someone you didn't get along with in the past or didn't see eye to eye with and kind of kept at arm's length with, then that's maybe someone that's sending you the message as to how you've changed and how you've grown and how that type of situation will no longer affect you. And one of the very nicest things about Mercury retrograde is this is an absolutely best time for brainstorming, for creativity. It's meant that we take a retreat. It's meant that we take a repose and we don't work so hard. If you have a task that you must do that needs to be completed this summer, if you can put it off, put it off. If it's something of a pressing nature, obviously you're going to, want to get it done. And I think what you might see that if focus and determination is needed to complete a task, not only will the impetus, the energy, the good vibes be there for you to do it, they'll be there for you to do it in an exacting and a quicker manner than you thought you'd be able to do it. So that's absolutely wonderful. So again, we're going to look at not buying any pieces of equipment that are plugged in or used by means of a battery. We're going to check and double check all types of meeting times and places and dates and agreements. And let's watch using the handshake. We're going to be careful to allow ourselves time with traveling schedule. We're going to pay attention to the idea of the vehicle or the mode of transportation that we use, especially if it's in our control, to double check that there's no work needing to be done on it. Again, the idea of contracts and using your gut, perhaps people revisiting you, and then the idea of getting out there and showing the world what it is you have to share with the rest of us once Mercury retrograde is over, because come August we are definitely all taking another step into that mystical new life that we just don't know what it's all about, but it's sitting there waiting for us, just waiting for us. Okay, ciao ciao, love ya.